Howdy y'all, welcome back to another video, glad you're here, and today I want to go over some animation stuff with y'all. So realizing that I am an animation channel, I know that I really don't put out a lot of animation all that often. It's very hard to make content out of it, or at least consistent content like I thought, but I am thinking of returning to it. So, I dusted off the old cobwebs and decided to open up Clip Studio Paint. I bought Clip Studio Paint a while back when it went on sale, and I really like exploring it and seeing what it had to offer. I focused more towards the drawing aspects of it, and I liked all the tools that it had for comics and creating the art that I like to create. And in addition to that, I noticed that the version that I had, it included animation software, which I desperately wanted since Harmony was a little too much for my wallet when I'm not animating all that often anyway. I still love you, Harmony, sponsor me. But anyways, as some of you know, I burnt out super heavily. It was rough, and I didn't touch this software all too often as of kind of late, really. It had been a couple months since I've really used Clip Studio, and I've been using my iPad and Procreate while I'm at work, just because, I can afford to use my iPad at work and stuff like that, and that's all I kind of, have, I guess, to my, I don't have CSP on my work computer, so, yeah. But, as I'm sure you guys have been seeing, I have been feeling way better, and I have been wanting to return back to it, but there were some hiccups, and y'all, it's sad. I got my bachelor's in 2D animation, and since then I have not touched animation software all that often, and I'm sad to say so. I have forgotten quite a bit. But I'm not gonna be too hard on myself because, even though I did forget a bit, Clip Studio Animation is still like a brand new program to me with all sorts of different settings, and the way things work are very different than Harmony and so on and so forth. And yeah, so, just at the very base of it, learning a new program is hard for anyone. But yeah, let's get right into it. I have been wanting to redo my video for outros for a while, and I wanted to animate it. So I decided that I wanted to do it in Clip Studio, kind of like as a trial run to see like how it works and what I can do with it. But here's the catch. I don't know why I decided to make it kind of like a challenge, but I decided to go in blind. I didn't watch any tutorials. I didn't read any of like the Clip Studio guides on the website. I didn't go to YouTube, and I just wanted to see if I could pick it up on my own. Kind of like how I did a long time ago in my other video where I was trying to just figure out Clip Studio Paint, just like the drawing part of it and stuff like that. I kind of took the same approach. I just wanted to see if I could figure out how to make an animation without looking at any of the tutorials and just going based off my intuitive knowledge. And while it was fun, I do think I ran into some challenges. So I started off by gathering my references. I wanted it to be a dance, and I wanted it to be one of those dances that I thought would be like, it's kind of funny, and it's just, I went with a little dance from Craig of the Creek. It was just kind of silly, and I knew it could be easily animatable, or so I thought. So I decided to record it on OBS, then take it into Premiere Pro, and frame by frame analyze it so that I could get a handle on the timing as well. This will actually prove to be my downfall later. And I've also done a video on this, so I'm surprised I didn't even... Anyways, now the first initial problem that I had, you see, I have drawn myself just about every week for the past however many weeks have gone by this year, and I don't know that I've at all drawn myself from the back. Literally the first few frames were already giving me problems, because I've never driven my character from behind. What I also didn't understand was that I couldn't decide whether I should draw my character completely each time, or if I should just move the main body up and down and just redraw the legs. So I think I kind of did both, which was also not pretty good, consistency wise. It was also kind of hard because with full body animation, you kind of have to keep in mind that you don't want the body sliding around everywhere, and keeping the model grounded could be very difficult. And like I said in the beginning, I'm rusty, y'all. Oh boy. Another big problem that I did have moving forward on this project was that, just like how I mentioned that I was doing some copying and pasting from all over my document, I was really messing up the labeling and the order and timing of layers, because my plan was to reuse all the drawings I used for the first sequence for the next sequence. just flipped horizontally. But trying to figure that out was a nightmare. And after gaining some more knowledge of how the program works, now I realize that copying and pasting frames into more parts of the timeline just creates more instances of that drawing at another point in the timeline. And so I basically just didn't realize that if I change this drawing, it changes all the drawings in that folder. So if I create a frame or a layer called 1, right, and I draw like a smiley face, and then I draw like a billion more frames, and further down the timeline I want to use frame 1, if I copy and paste it and then add like 2 smiley faces on that one, there will be 2 smiley faces on the original one that I made all the way in the beginning as well. I don't know if that makes sense, but if it does, y'all know that it's a problem. So as you can imagine, not knowing this really confused the heck out of me, and it had me checking what I was doing like so much. It made me like very self-aware of like where I'm putting and like what I'm doing with my layers. And it was just so much that I actually just deleted the project and I had to start from scratch. Oh, trust me, y'all, that document was so scuffed. It just had to go away. There was very well, okay, that's not true. I could have salvaged it, but it was just too much. So I just board wiped it. Board wipe. Oh my god, I'm using Yu-Gi-Oh slang. What's wrong with me? Anyways, the next problem that I was having with this animation was watching it in the playback. For all the other programs that I've used for animation and video editing, I'm really surprised that I didn't understand how the playback was working. I just could not figure out how to zone in on one part that I was working on and playing it like, you know, that specific section back in real time. And yeah, I didn't get it. I would try to scrub, but the scrub felt super laggy and not smooth as other programs. And then I kind of figured out how to make it loop and stuff, but it was just really annoying for me to figure out. Then I started making a lot of progress on this file and getting it to a part where I can start looping the whole entire thing. So I started looping it, and that was actually weird to figure out as well, because I realized that I just couldn't copy paste, as that would just give me the results that I wouldn't want. And knowing what I know now, I know that you're not supposed to click or that you're supposed to right click on the timeline and then right click copy, right click paste. That way the selected layer that you're on would be like the next part of the sequence. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm not making a lot of sense. I thought I could just Control C, Control V, but you actually have to right click copy paste for, you know, both instances, or else it's just not gonna work the way you think it's gonna work. That's all I can say. That's the best way I think I can explain it. And let me tell y'all, it threw off a lot of the timing. It wasn't matching up with what I had in Premiere, but it still kind of worked. And then I think for some of them, I just manually just like repeated it and counted out the frames. It was a nightmare. And then after that, there was one more thing that was off. And if everyone could guess it right now, you're a legend. All right, 3, 2, 1. The timing was horrendously, incredibly off, and it wasn't because like the past 2 things that I just mentioned. It was something that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, actually. It wasn't because I switched around anything or this and that. It wasn't because I'll say it. It was because, and it took me a long time to realize this too, but it was that I recorded that video on OBS at 60 FPS. Meaning I was trying to animate something in 24 or 30 frames per second, whatever I was using, and trying to match it even though it was playing in 60. And that might not sound crazy or very weird to understand. I mean, I'm actually kind of still trying to understand it. But yeah, the timing was all wonky. It was playing super slow, and I didn't really know how to fix it. I know that you can change the frame rate, but I mean, at the time I actually really kind of didn't understand how, but oh my goodness. I felt like scrapping it again. I finally finished it. I had the loop ready and everything. I just needed to buff out some of those, but once I saw that the timing was all messed up, I was like, oh man. And yeah, I understand how I should be approaching these from now on. And it was definitely a learning experience. I understand now, which is a good thing. My goodness, though. Very, very interesting experience. But all in all, animating in Clip Studio Paint isn't too bad. I didn't really talk about some of the things that I liked, and there actually were a couple of things that I did enjoy. Like, for example, I really enjoyed having the ability to work in either raster or vector. While I know that vector lines are the way to go for animation, I'm just more comfortable using raster images. The brushes feel more natural and intuitive to use, in my opinion. And once I go to the line art stage, even though I didn't make it to the line art stage, but if I were to make it to the line art stage, then I would start using vectors. I think for sketches and rough animation, rasters just, I don't know, they just work for me. I like using them. I also really enjoyed the feel and the UI of everything else. It feels very similar to how one could animate with Photoshop. I know where the tools are. I know where the tools that I want to use are in the toolbar, and it lets me customize it exactly how I want. Clip Studio is just, I know, I won't even say that it has the potential. It does have the potential and more to be a very, very excellent animation program. And I feel like I've genuinely only scratched the surface of it. And I feel like there's a whole lot more that I could do with it once I actually start learning some more tutorials and stuff like that, which I think I'm actually going to do after this experience. Even though I did make it, and I will say, even though I did make it sound like I had a rough experience, I think that was mostly because I just, like I said, I went in blind. I didn't completely understand. Of course, with my intuitive knowledge, I roughly know how the timeline works. I know how frames and keyframing and all that stuff works. That stuff is kind of intuitive, but just understanding like the processes for all that, because they are slightly different. But you know, once I find all the buttons and, like I said, watch a couple tutorials, I think it's gonna be fine. More than fine, actually. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you stick around, because hopefully I'm gonna, you know, I have currently actually brushed up on a couple of YouTube videos. I'm reading all the stuff, and oh man, I have so many ideas. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Later, homies.